Now that we are halfway through 2022, what is happening in the greater Seattle real estate market?
Welcome to July's market update.
We will go over the most recent market stats and current market conditions. And as always, we'll mention key points so whether you are a buyer or a seller, you are in the know.
Let's first briefly summarize what's happened thus far in 2022. What a year it has been for real estate across the greater Seattle region. For the first 3 months of 2022, it felt like home prices were on a rocket ship heading straight up. Then around mid-April, it felt like someone hit the brakes hard. That someone was the Federal Reserve. And they hit the brakes by raising interest rates rapidly. By mid-April, rates had gone up to 5%, which is a huge jump from the 3.1% at the start of the year.
In the second quarter of the year, rates continued to rise, but just not as rapidly. In a nutshell, these extreme rate hikes, coupled with the dramatic rise in home prices, has led to where we are now, which is a more flat market. This means home values are not rising, but because we still have relatively low inventory, prices are not dropping dramatically either. In other words, homes are selling close to their asking prices. Now, this is a broad stroke statement because it depends on the specific home, the location, the price point, the condition, etc.
Yes, there are many sellers who have even had to lower their prices in order to get their homes sold. This is a very different market from a few months ago when homes were selling for 12% above their asking price on average. So, let's dive right into the numbers. Also, it's important to note we will sometimes share the year-over-year numbers, that's June 2021 to June 2022, and sometimes mention the month-over-month numbers when important.
In May 2022, Snohomish and King County both saw an increase in the number of homes come on the market. In other words, more inventory, while the city of Seattle had a decrease in inventory. But in June, all three areas saw an increase in inventory. Snohomish County saw a 15.3% increase in inventory. King County saw a 7% increase, and the city of Seattle saw a minor increase of just 1% of new listings come on the market versus the same time 1 year ago.
Now, let's mention the speed at which homes are selling. Interestingly enough, even though we've had an increase in inventory and a decrease in the number of buyers competing, homes across our region are still selling rather quickly. Keep in mind, some of these numbers do lag because most of the homes that closed in June of 2022 were actually listed in April or May, which is when the market was more robust.
For instance, in Snohomish County, the average time it took to sell a home in June 2021 was 9 days. In June 2022, it took 12 days. For King County, the average was 10 days last year and 9 days this June. For Seattle, the average days on market was 11 days last year, and this June it was 8 days. So when looking at these numbers, you might think that the market is just as hot as earlier this year or last year. However, we expect that in the coming months, the numbers will show that it now takes longer to sell a home on average.
Let's talk about the sales price to list price ratio, which tells us how much above or below the list price homes are selling for on average. In Snohomish County, homes went from selling for 8.5% above the asking price to selling for 2.2% above the asking price year over year, which is a decrease of 6.3%. For King County, homes went from selling for 8.4% above the list price to 3.5% above the list price year over year. This is a decrease of 4.9%. And in Seattle, homes went from selling for 6.6% above the list price to 5% above the list price, which is a decrease of 1.6%. What does this all mean? To put it simply, homes were selling for way above their asking price earlier this year and this time last year. However, as mentioned earlier, we are seeing homes sell much closer to their asking prices.
What about the median home values? In Snohomish County, the median sales price went up from $705,000 to $790,000 year over year. That's an increase of just over 12%. For King County, the median sales price went up from $865,000 to $930,000 year over year, which is an increase of 7.5%. And in Seattle, the median sales price went from $885,000 to $971,000 year over year, which is an increase of 9.7%. When looking at the year over year comparison, values are increasing across the board. However, If we look at the month-over-month trend, this paints a very different picture.
The following numbers are the most interesting we're going to share in today's market update. Snohomish County's median sales price in May was $810,000, while June's median sales price was $790,000. This is a decrease of 2.5% or $20,000 in home values. King County also saw a decrease in value because in May, the median sales price was $1,003,000, while in June it was $930,000, which is a decrease of around 7% or $73,000. And in the city of Seattle, the median sales price was $996,000 in May, while in June it was $971,000. That's also a decrease of 2.5% or about $25,000.
All right, this is a big deal because the data shows us that the prices have come down from their all-time high. Not to beat a dead horse, but this was inevitable given the huge surge in prices coupled with the huge surge in interest rates. So what are this month's takeaways? Let's first start with the buyers.
Should you wait to purchase if prices might come down more? Not necessarily. We are not fans of trying to time the market. More importantly, the answer depends on your affordability and your personal needs. When you find a home that meets your desired criteria, timing, and you can afford it, you should consider a purchase. At the same time, currently you may also be able to do some good negotiating and get a better deal.
Speaking of which, when you are negotiating with a seller, it is often more valuable to you as a buyer to get the seller to pay towards your closing costs or pay down your rate versus merely reduce the asking price. You can play with the numbers with an online calculator, but you'll soon see that you can easily come out ahead with certain strategies. Talk to your lender about the best options for you.
Now for you sellers. When you're pricing your home, you shouldn't just compare to what your neighbor's house sold for earlier this year because the rates were lower and the monthly mortgage was more affordable. Instead, try to compare to the active homes for sale in your neighborhood. Or, better yet, compare to the homes that just went under contract.
Because this is no longer an extreme seller's market, try to make sure your home looks top-notch. First impressions count more now since there are not as many buyers competing for homes. Also, be sure to set the right expectations up front so you are not stressed if your home takes a bit longer to receive an offer. You may even have to pivot and lower your asking price in order to get it sold.
If you are interested in learning more about why our Greater Seattle real estate market is cooling, check out this video here.
And to make sure you don't miss any more content, be sure to subscribe. See you next time.